You know those people who just complain constantly in life and never have anything positive to say? Don't be one of those people. They're the worst. Today I've got a bit of a story time one for you. This is about a guy who I used to be really close friends with, and one who is exactly like that. And this is basically the story and my biggest takeaway from the experience. For starters, I know there is a hint of irony in me making a video complaining about people who complain and telling you not to complain, but trust the process. I used to be much more of a complainer in life, to the point where it would probably be a negative thing. In the past few years, since going through something in life where I lost a really close cousin to me, that's changed. I'm a much more laid back person and I love it. I'm just much more relaxed, I feel better, and that really works out day to day. So here's the story. We'll call this guy Billy. So I became friends with Billy at the very end of our first semester in first year in college, and both of us weren't really in great places at the time. And we didn't know that about each other, but our friendship kind of only scratched the surface. But we had a lot in common. We had, same interests in sport, and we were doing the same course. So I'm not going to get too much into what course we were doing, but basically all you need to know is that at the end of completing this course, you've got to be good or you won't get a job. It's a very cutthroat industry. But Billy had the talent, no doubt about it. So fast forward to the next semester, the second half of first year, we became really close friends and ended up in this big group of friends together, which was really fun for that second semester. Then of course in second year, you got the usual host of friend group drama popping up, as it always does. But my friendship with Billy was pretty much unaffected by it, and we ended up probably becoming closest with each other out of it, in that we were really, really good friends. And he's a really witty guy. He just says the most out of pocket shit at the most random time, and yet it always fits. And he was just so good at giving everyone a good laugh. He was, I suppose, the class clown of the group, and that's the best way to put it. So then for third year, the course is split into two different semesters. So the first semester you do an internship with a company, and then a semester abroad where you study in a different country. So we both actually ended up working under the same umbrella company, but for different companies within that. But we both got really good experience for setting us up after college. And he was thriving, I was thriving. It was great. And then came the semester abroad. So originally it was supposed to be me, Billy, and two more guys. Let's call them James and Louis. And we were supposed to go to the same country, the four of us. But Billy and James both pulled out of it late on. And James explicitly said it's because of his girlfriend, which I personally think was probably the wrong call, but at least he was honest about it, and you could respect that. Billy did the same, but he wasn't honest about the fact that it was for his girlfriend, even though we all knew it was. And then Louis was single at the time. I was in a relationship, but myself and Louis ended up going. And as it turns out, because of the semester abroad, my relationship ended. But myself and Louis really ended up having an amazing time. It was just a great experience. And at this point, I could see that Billy was regretting his decision not to come. But he wouldn't admit that or state that his reason for pulling out was because of his girlfriend. And she had been abroad for her work placement in her course. So when I get back for fourth year, which is our last year, I end up living with Billy and his girlfriend. And I thought that would be a great idea because their relationship had been so drama free, or so I thought. But from living with them, I could kind of quickly start to see what he was like on a day-to-day basis. And like, you know, at first his witty remarks would be funny, especially when he was complaining about our course, which was a bit of a nightmare at times. But it started to get stale really quick. He became so draining. Every day it was just so negative, and I could see it was killing his girlfriend, and it was starting to get at me too. And then I kind of started to see more about the way he was treating her, and that wasn't good either. Like, he was getting a bit too shouty, and she kind of shrugged it off, but it kind of concerned me. Like, he turned nothing into an issue, and everything just became a constant cycle of complaining. So I ended up talking to one of his girlfriend's close friends, and I asked her, like, oh, you know, what do you think of Billy? And that's where it all came out to me. The way he treated her when she was abroad, how controlling he was, how negative he was. And at this time, like, I was still doing a lot of work for the company where I did my internship, but he was unemployed, complaining about money, and yet spending all of what he had on his crippling vape and Pepsi addictions. And it just got worse and worse. And then I'm, you know, there working. I get him work for the same company. He does a few jobs, but then starts complaining because he's got to drive half an hour to get to work. And because that involves driving in a city, so he says no. And that just left me completely baffled. Like, why would you not want to take on the work? And like, it wasn't just that he was turning down the work and the money, but it was a chance for him to establish himself in an industry where it's tricky to do so. And he's got bags and bags of potential. And then it just got worse and worse. I went away on a holiday, and while I was away, he ended up getting into a screaming match with his girlfriend, but like a very one-sided screaming match. It was pretty much all him, and she ended up breaking up with him for it. Then he went down an even darker route and decided he was going to start threatening to kill himself and all of this shit, and it just spiraled into a complete mess. So when I got back, I'd obviously been filled in on what was happening while it was going on, but he ended up going back home and finished the first semester of fourth year from there, but officially moved out then at the start of our last semester. But I want to talk about the difference that made here, because both myself and his now ex-girlfriend were just much happier. Like, now that we weren't being dragged down by this ball of negativity every day. And like, we ended up having a great semester, and that's because he was gone and out of our lives, and it's amazing to me. So really, like, the lesson here is just do not be a Billy, because not only are you going to turn away everyone in your life, you know, the people that care about you, but you'll destroy it too. Like, no one wants to hang out with a Billy. That, like, negativity very quickly washes out anything redeeming about a person. And the proof is in that. I mean, the way things turned out, like, Billy has absolutely no prospects in life now, despite being so talented at what he was doing. And we all graduated recently. And at graduation, you know, I was like, oh, what are you doing? You know, how's things going? I just was being nosy. But he said he had a job lined up in England, and I thought, oh my God, no way. He's actually done it. He's, you know, turned his life around. And then I said, oh, what's the job? And he said, working in a bar. But he's going to keep an eye out for jobs in our industry. And, like, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with working in a bar, you know, for a certain period or whatever. And I'm sure he'll have more fun doing that job in England than he would have in Ireland at home. But his thing was that he's going to keep an eye out for opportunities, and that to me just said it all. Like, this guy could have been something, but he's not, and he won't be until he realizes how negative he is and how much of a heap of misery he is for those around him, and how bad that is, you know, for the people around you. Like, it's just not a good way to be whatsoever. So my lesson here is, there are obviously things in life. You're going to complain, you're going to have bad days, but don't be a Billy. Don't let it consume you. Don't drain the people around you. Don't sabotage your own potential because you would rather complain than try. Because trust me, no one likes a Billy.